What do you suppose we could do with these? I don't know, but stick around to find out. Be right back. Hi, welcome to my vegan kitchen. Today, what we're going to do with these things is we're going to make some fermented pickles. Now this will be the last fermenting video for the time being in the series of 3 that I've done. Now the reason why we're going to make fermented pickles is because when you ferment vegetables, what happens is that through the natural process, it creates probiotics, antioxidants, enzymes, and vitamins. Now these are all key ingredients, nutrients that help your body flourish. It helps with your good gut health. It helps with your overall immune system. Super important, especially now this time of the year. When you go down to the store and you buy a jar of pickles, they are not fermented. Everything that has any nutrients in it at all has been cooked out. We are taking our own health into our own hands, and that's why we ferment. But doing it this way, fermenting, lacto-fermenting, makes and keeps all the good things in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you down to the counter, like always, and we're going to make ourselves some fermented pickles. Be right back. All right, here we are. So making fermented pickles it's super easy. I mean, really super easy. All you need, just need a cucumber, some dill, some garlic, some salt, if you'd like to, add some pickling seasoning. You're gonna need, now this is gonna be for a 1 quart jar. You're gonna need about 3.5 cups of water, and you're gonna need 1 to 1.5 tablespoons of salt. So the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna move this out of the way here real quick. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to just dump my 1.5 tablespoons of salt into my water and mix it up. Want it all dissolved. This is going to be our brine. Okay, once you have it all mixed up, just go ahead and set that aside. Now this is really important. The water that you use for your fermented pickles, it has to be either a reverse osmosis water, a filtered water. If you don't have the availability to either one of those two, then go ahead and put some water on your stove, bring it to a boil, and then let it set for a while. That will boil out all the impurities, or at least most of them, and especially the chlorine. Chlorine is not good in your fermented foods. So once you have your salt mixed up into your water, which is now called our brine, you're going to want to take your cucumber. Now, the important thing about a cucumber is that you see on the end where the flowering part was, or the stem part was, you're going to want to cut that off. So let me see, I'll just show you here real quick. So on that little flowering part, and what I actually like to do is I like to cut both ends off. There is supposedly an enzyme that's in the tip of that will cause your pickles to, instead of being nice and crisp how we like them, to become soggy and yucky. So let's pitch that one away, and then I just cut off the other end also. So then I figure out and measure out, so I'm going to be adding this stuff in. So I'm going to kind of just measure out the cucumber as to where I want to cut it. Now, you want everything that you put in your jar to be covered by the brine. You don't want any of it exposed to the air. You want it all covered by the brine. And we like to fill it up. I like to fill my jar up. So let's say, you know, the pickles are down here, but nowhere past the neck of this jar. So I'll go ahead and I'll just measure that out, roughly about there. I like mine into quarters. So I'll cut them into quarters. Same way with the other one. Oh, fermented foods, they are so good for you. And they taste awesome. Okay, I've set my cucumbers aside for a moment. Now that we have our cucumbers all done up, we're going to want to add garlic to them. Now I've already cut up a few pieces, or at least cleaned a few pieces, but I wanted to show you something really important. When you do your garlic, go ahead and take and smash it. That releases the oils that we want that are nutritious inside the garlic. And then of course once you smash it, it makes it a whole lot easier to peel also. So the same way with what we did with the cucumbers, we want to do with the garlic. We want to cut off that little flowering end. So just go ahead and cut those off. They also supposedly contain the enzyme in them too. So we have all that done. Now I've also cut up some onions and some jalapenos and some habanero peppers. And if you're gonna use the onion or any of this other stuff or whatever you want to put in there, because it's all up to you. You can put whatever in there that you would like. Make sure you do the same thing with everything. Cut off the flowering end, whether it be the onion or whatever else you use. So we're gonna first start out with is we're gonna take a couple sprigs of dill. I'm gonna cut off the stalk. You don't have to if you don't want to. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. We're gonna take a couple sprigs of dill. We're going to want to throw that into the bottom of our jar. Now I'm going to put 3 in there. Okay, then you're going to want to take your garlic. You want to go ahead and throw a couple pieces in there. Now I usually use a lot more garlic, so you can use however much garlic you like. Typically use like 2 cloves of garlic. You can add more though if you would like so. So I put my dill in the bottom, and I've also put my garlic in the bottom, and I've saved some for the top. Now I'm going to go ahead and just add a few onions, not very many. And then I'll add some habaneros to the bottom and some jalapenos to the bottom. And we're going to add half of our pickling spice into the bottom. Now I've used 1.5 tablespoons of pickling spice. Once you do that, we're going to want to go ahead and start stuffing our cucumbers in the jar. Just kind of pack them in there. So as you can see, we're just kind of sticking them in there and pack them in there really tight. So far, as you can see, they're going to be well underneath the liquid once I get done. Now if you're using onions, you know, go ahead and throw some in at the moment. Shove them down in there. Fill up the little extra spaces. Now I've used 1 small onion for this recipe. And I will leave down in the info section down below all the ingredients that I've used and how to make your fermented pickles. Okay, so now on the top, we want to take a couple more of our dill sprigs. We're going to want to put them on top and push them down in there. Just kind of push them down in there so that way they're in between the pickles or the cucumbers at the moment. So 2 or 3 sprigs. Now we're going to want to go ahead and put our garlic on top, the rest of it. And I had 2 cloves of garlic. And just take, if you have to, just kind of bust them up if you need to. So that way they'll fit in there. Okay, and then I'm going to put a couple more jalapenos on top of mine. Do the same thing, shove them down inside there. Take a couple of the habanero peppers, I'm going to throw them in there. I really shouldn't be touching these without gloves. I have everything packed in there. And now we're going to go ahead and add our brine. You're just going to want to take your brine and pour it over top. Now you're going to want to pour it up to the neck. Boom, just like that. If you can see that. Now the key to fermenting is making sure that you keep everything submerged. You don't want anything being exposed to air. If it does, it has a tendency to mold. But that's alright. If it does start molding on top, just scrape it off. Everything else is fine. You don't have to worry about it. So now that I have my brine solution put in there, I want to make sure it's covering the top of the cucumbers. Kind of shake it down a little bit. That way the brine gets in between. And see, I could use a little bit more right now. Alright, now there's 2 ways of going about doing this. Well, there's several ways to skin this cat, but I'll cover a couple. So you could use this little sandwich bag and put a little bit of your brine solution inside of it and then seal it up, and then you could put it on top, and that will help keep everything submerged underneath the liquid while you're fermenting. And then what you would do, put your bag on top with some of the brine solution in it, put your lid over top of it, just a regular canning lid for your wide mouth jar, and then go ahead and now don't tighten it tight, just put it on there. That's all you have to do. Now what I do is, what I like a lot, is I use these little glass pucks. Now these heavy little glass pucks will help keep everything in my wide mouth jar submerged while I'm fermenting. And all I do is take and drop it in there and make a mess. Now everything is submerged underneath the liquid, underneath the brine, and then I use a fermentation cap. Now there are a lot of them online. This is one that I happen to like. So I take the fermentation cap, I put it on there, and now what I'm going to do is I'm all set. All I have to do is set it in the dark, keep it between 68 and 78 degrees, and it should ferment somewhere between 7 to 14 days. Now it's really going to depend on your climate. I usually find that it takes at least 2 weeks. Now the way you go about doing it is that, you know, after about 5 days, go ahead and take your top off and pull out a piece, cut a piece off, and taste it. If it still tastes like cucumber, they're not done. If it tastes like pickle, they're all done. When it's all done, what you want to do is you want to just go ahead and put your mason jar cap back on top and put it in the refrigerator. Now one thing I like about these lids is that on the top here, I don't know if you can see it, but it actually has a date setter. So you can move this little piece around and set it to the day that you finish doing your jar. So that's it. That's about all there is to doing fermented pickles. Pretty easy. Now, also too, if you do use just a regular canning lid and you don't have a fermentation lid, you want to go ahead and burp your jar about every 3 or 4 days because it does build up pressure in here. You'll notice it'll start to bubble. So about every 3 to 4 days, just go ahead and take your lid off, burp it, put it back on. Just that simple. Okay. That's it for today. That's how simple it is to make fermented pickles. These taste absolutely delicious. Once you start learning to ferment, once you do your first batch, you will be hooked on these. So that takes care of our video today. Really easy to make lacto-fermented pickles. Super simple recipe. Try these at home, you'll love them. Not only that, but your body will love them too. They're extremely healthy for you. So if you like this video, hey, give me a thumbs up. And don't forget to hit that little subscribe button down in the corner. That way you won't miss another video that I put out. And let me tell you, I've got 2 really good ones coming. So until I see you again, later.